Cat.
Hi, Tom.
Hello, hello, Kat.
Hi, Jarrett. Welcome.
Yeah.
We're just going to give it one more minute for folks to come on in.
Oh, sorry, hold on.
Hello, RTAG.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone.
Go Celtics.
This isn't.
All right, we're going to give it 30 more seconds for folks to connect to audio, and then we'll get started. All right, welcome everyone to our May RTAG meeting. Next slide, please. Just a warning that we are recording this meeting. The MBTA may choose to retain and distribute the video, still images, audio, and/or transcript. By continuing attendance with this virtual public meeting, you consent to participate in a recorded event. If you're not comfortable being recorded, please turn off your camera and keep your microphone muted, or you may choose to excuse yourself from the meeting. Other important notes: you can use these whether you record or not. Your microphone and webcam are automatically disabled upon entering the meeting. The meeting will be open to questions and answers at the end of each of the formal presentations. And please take time to respond to our survey. Your feedback is important. Next slide. All right, I'm going to quickly, okay, we will quickly run through the agenda. We'll start with welcome and introductions, then Zoom directions. We'll have an RTAG update given by our co-chair, Nora Nakel. Then we will have system-wide accessibility updates given by Rob Sampson, the Director of System-Wide Accessibility. Then we will have the Better Bus Project given by Annie Arguello, the Deputy Director of Communications, followed by system-wide accessibility feedback session. Then we will have the ride updates given by Michelle Styler, the Chief of Paratransit Services, followed by the ride feedback session, and then we will close with some closing remarks. Next slide. Zoom directions for our ASL interpreters. Our ASL interpreters tonight are Tom Lauterborn and Denise Martinez. To view their video, find the interpreter's video in the gallery. In the top right corner of the interpreter's video, click the ellipses, then click the pin video option. This will keep the interpreter's video on your screen. Zoom directions for CART captioning. Our CART captioner tonight is Denise Gracia. To start viewing closed captioning, click closed caption with the CC icon. A tip is to click and drag the closed captioning to move its positioning in the meeting window. To adjust the caption size, click the upward arrow next to start video / stop video. Click video settings, then accessibility, and move the slider to adjust the caption size. Zoom directions for using the chat for technical questions. If you have a technical question about Zoom or the features of the meeting, please use the chat function. Our technical assistant will attempt to troubleshoot your problem and get back to you. So I'm going to hand it over to Nora Nakel, one of the co-chairs of RTAG, to give a quick update on what RTAG has been up to. Go ahead, Nora.
Thanks. Hello, everybody, and welcome to May's meeting of the Rider Transportation Access Group, also known as RTAG. We're a community-based group advising the MBTA on transportation matters impacting both people with disabilities and older adults. Currently, collaborative efforts are underway to establish a working group involving RTAG and other community-based organizations on the topic of sharing the road and sidewalks with bicyclists. By partnering with key stakeholders who prioritize safety for both cyclists and pedestrians, we aim to initiate discussions and foster connections within the bicycling community with the objective of enhancing enforcement of cyclist behavior and promoting a safer transportation system for everyone. Encouraging progress has been made with the MBTA's safety team regarding the need to update the existing MassDOT 2015 bike lane design guideline. Plans are underway to initiate a working group involving RTAG. Ultimately, the goal is to merge efforts with the bicycling community and MassDOT to collectively address transportation safety concerns. We also continue to collaborate with Uber, Lyft, and the Department of Public Utilities, DPU. Recently, we met with DPU, which is examining its permit renewals and audits of the TNCs, which stands for Transportation Network Companies, of which Uber and Lyft are two, to gather more information on how they enforce their policies. Additionally, we have received reports of incidents where drivers have been submitting false complaints against riders with service animals while refusing to take them. So it's not only caused the riders to have to complain about the service animal, but they also have to fight against the complaint that's been made against them. In some cases, this has resulted in service animal users being kicked off of the rideshare platform. If anything like this has happened to you, please contact RTAG and let us know. And back to you, Kat. Thanks.
Thanks, Nora. Next slide. I am now going to turn it over to Rob Sampson, the Director of System-Wide Accessibility, to give us some updates. Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks, Kat. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the MBTA's plan to accelerate accessibility on the commuter rail with freestanding mini highs. So this is an extremely exciting and innovative project that's finally going to provide accessible commuter rail service to about a dozen cities and towns in their surrounding communities. Next slide. So first we're going to talk about, first I'm going to provide a snapshot of the current state of accessibility on the commuter rail. And so what you're looking at on the screen here is a pie chart representing all of the commuter rail stations in the network and breakdown of the types of platforms that exist at each station. So on the right side of the pie chart, you'll see a dark blue slice representing the 56 full high platforms on the system right now, which represents 39% of all stations. The light blue slice represents the 59 mini high platforms, which is 42% of all stations. And then up at the top, you have the red slice representing the 26 inaccessible stations, which is about 18% of all stations. And at the very bottom, there's a small wedge representing the one short full high platform, which is 1% of all stations. So the next couple slides, we'll get a bit into describing what each type of platform looks like and how it functions. Next slide. So first off, we have full high platforms, which are usually roughly around 800 feet in length. They allow for level boarding on all doors of a train. It provides customers with the most inclusive and safe experience on the commuter rail. And generally, they are only found at new and altered stations. And again, this is it's at 39% of stations where these are found. And also on the slide is a picture showing a single level commuter rail train berthed at a South Station platform. And you have a conductor standing outside one of the doors. On the platform, you have a person with a service animal walking towards the terminal, as well as several other customers walking in the same direction. Next slide. Out on the system, as I mentioned before, we also have short full high platforms. Now these platforms, they are significantly shorter than your traditional full high platform. They vary in length and they only provide boarding to the train cars that line up with the platform. And it's and allows customers to board and exit to only those train cars. The remainder of the train is not accessible at these stations. And right now, it is only one station where these platforms exist, and it is the Lynn Interim station. And in this picture here, you see a train stopped at one of the Lynn Interim station platforms. Next slide. And then we also have mini high platforms. These are even shorter than our full and short full high platforms, roughly around 45 to 60 feet in length. And they only provide level boarding to the first two coaches that align with the platform. The remainder of the platform is all low level. So riders who are boarding or exiting the train from that low level platform, it is inaccessible, but it is the rest of the train can be accessed through a set of stairs at each coach. So the mini high platforms were quite common in the 1990s and 2000s, but with the passage or revision of federal accessibility regulations, they are no longer acceptable at new or altered stations. And this is why they're so common at our commuter rail stations right now. Now, I'll note that at stations with mini high and short full high platforms, if a rider chooses to board a train car, a coach that does not line up with the platform, the level portion of the platform, the train can be repositioned. So if a customer is looking to board or alight at the level platform, the train can be repositioned. And that is the case right now, for example, at the Lynn Interim station. And conductors are required to accommodate those requests. And on the slide is a picture of a train stopped at a mini high, and you have a rider using a power chair waiting to board, along with several other customers. Next slide. And then lastly, we have our low-level inaccessible platforms. So at these stations, there is no level boarding options available. And again, in order to board or alight the train, riders have to use a set of stairs on the coaches. And again, this is at 19% of all of our stations. And here on the right side of the screen, you'll see a picture of a low-level platform that is empty. You see the track in the background, as well as a couple customers waiting on a bench. Next slide. So to upgrade all of our 26 inaccessible stations, it is quite challenging, and it's really because of two reasons. Recent cost projections indicate that to fully reconstruct the 26 inaccessible stations with full high platforms and appropriate vertical circulation with ramping systems as well as elevators would cost between $55 and $90 million or more for each station. And it would take about 4 to 8 years to fully design and construct each of these stations. So if you were to take those numbers and multiply it with the 26 inaccessible stations, the costs would be over $1.25 billion over the course of 15 plus years. So those are numbers that just we couldn't live with. We need to find a way to accelerate the upgrading of those stations. And right now, traditional mini highs are not a viable option because it would require the MBTA to alter the underlying platform, which would then trigger obligations to construct a full high platform. And this is per DOT ADA regulations that require level boarding to all train cars at newly constructed or altered stations. Next slide. So the solution here that we are sharing with you today, over the last 2 years, our capital delivery and engineering teams worked with our department to come up with an innovative design of an entirely freestanding mini high level platform that rests on top of the existing low level platforms. So this does not require the alteration of the platform, the excavation of a platform. It is simply constructing the platform on top of what is there today. And it would consist of a concrete base, so large concrete, I'm not too sure what you want to call them, platforms, if you will. And on top of those are recycled bridge deck, sections of bridge deck or scaffolding. And then on top of those, you have a platform surface of some type, as well as seating, a canopy, and then you have a ramping system that is also covered with a canopy. And on the slide, you see a rendering of a freestanding mini high level platform, meeting the description I just provided. Next slide. So the plan is to construct and install mini highs at inaccessible commuter rail stations that do not have a complicated or complex topography or require significant vertical circulation. So it would not require us to install elevators or ramping systems. In addition, at the same time, we would address minor to moderate accessibility barriers, such as the rebuilding or installation of curb ramps or repair of walkways or sidewalks, as well as addressing any accessible parking needs. And the cost to upgrade each station is roughly $3 million per station. And it will take a little over 6 months to construct. So right now we have designs already completed for Wellesley Square, West Medford, Franklin, and Walpole stations. And construction is expected to begin at those stations, I believe, within the next couple months, and is estimated to be completed by the end of this year. And it's Keola's crews that are going to be performing the work, which is part of the reason why this is so much cheaper to complete. We also have funding in place to design and construct freestanding mini highs at Wakefield, Concord, Lincoln, Wyoming Hills, and Endicott stations due to fair share revenue that the MBTA has received. Next slide. And if we find that the approach we took with the first 2 batches of stations is viable and works, we have, with additional funding, we will also install these platforms at 4 other stations that are considered good candidates, including Wesley Hills, Greenwood, Melrose Cedar Park, and Belmont stations. Next slide. So all of what I laid out is part of phase 1 of a longer term strategy to make the entire commuter rail network fully accessible. So again, first is to address the 26 stations that are completely inaccessible through the construction of the freestanding mini highs, as well as by completing full reconstruction of 3 stations. And that is Natick, Winchester, and North Wilmington. So by next year, it's expected that these 3 stations as well will be fully accessible, with either full high, or at North Wilmington we'll have a short full high platform. What we're also going to do is explore the feasibility of constructing short full high platforms at Islington, Kendall Green, and Shirley, and advance designs on permanent upgrades at 7 stations that require very complex solutions. And those stations include Auburn, Auburndale, Newtonville, West Newton, which are currently in design, Waverly, Air, Wesley Farms, and Windsor Gardens. And even farther down the road, as part of what we're calling phase 2, we would go back once we have funding in place, rebuild the stations that currently have either mini high platforms or will have our freestanding mini high platforms and replace them with full high platforms, as well as address all other accessibility needs that are required. And the focus will be on those stations where accessibility upgrades may be triggered in the near future due to other essential work that has to be done at the station, such as stair or platform replacement or alterations. Next slide. So that is all I have for an update right now. I will be able to take questions about this after Annie gives her presentation. So I'm going to pass it along to Annie Arguello now, who is Deputy Director of Communications with the Better Bus Group. And she's going to give you another update on the bus stop sign design pilot.
Thank you, Rob. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Annie Arguello, and I'm with the Better Bus Project, specifically work in the bus transformation office. And we are responsible for implementing the bus network redesign as well as the transit priority program. But thanks for the invitation today and again for the opportunity to provide you with an update on the bus stop sign design pilot. So the last time I was here in late March, I shared with the group that we were starting to test a new bus stop sign design. And since then, we launched a 4-week bus stop sign pilot that started on April 8th and ended on March 3rd. So quickly, we initiated this pilot to enhance the accessibility and findability of the bus stop signs, and as well as in preparation of the bus network redesign, which we will launch the first phase in December of this year, with the aim, the overall aim of improving the bus stop experience for our riders. And then for us, the bus stop pilot was also an opportunity to see how our new design, which I will share with you, the key features, worked at the bus stops, identify potential issues, and most importantly, be able to get feedback from community members on what we were proposing for the new design. So on this particular slide, we're displaying a series of images that are comparing both the current bus stop sign with the larger sign that we piloted. And so you can see that the old and the new sign, or the pilot sign, are vastly different in size. Also in this slide, we're highlighting the locations where we tested the pilot signs across Greater Boston. So we had several locations that we selected based on ridership and also the presence of frequent bus routes at those particular bus stops. In the next slide, not quite yet, we will also focus on the features of the sign. But before we move on, I do want to highlight that we also have an image of the flyer that we use to promote the bus stop sign pilot, which provided information on what the pilot was, but also how to give feedback through both an online and a text survey, which again concluded on May 3rd. So that's generally that was the goal of the bus stop sign pilot. So next slide. So on this slide, we're displaying what the key features of the bus stop sign pilot were. So unlike the existing signs, the pilot signs were wider. So they went from 12 inches to 14 inches. They also included larger text, larger 2-inch text and numbers to make it easier to read. And they were also double-sided, so that way bus riders could see the bus information from multiple directions. And lastly, on the image, we introduced a new clock, a new yellow clock symbol next to a frequent bus route to help riders easily spot which services were had frequent bus service, or those that run every 15 minutes or better. These signs were tested across 10 bus stop locations. And in collaboration with the MBTA community engagement team, we also hosted 8 events at various locations and bus stations in our network, where we directly engaged with riders and also collected information through our online and text survey. overall, we had the survey itself was in multiple languages. So we had 5 languages in total so that we can communicate with different groups in various languages. And we are currently still reviewing the information that we collected through the bus stop sign design pilot. So I look forward to bringing you an update in the next month or so. But I can say that we collected over 900 survey responses through our in-person outreach efforts as well as through our online efforts. So we're looking forward to reviewing that information and, you know, bringing recommendations back, for example. So our next step, as I mentioned, is to review the survey feedback. Based on that, we could revise the sign, then we can come back. But the intent with the sign is to, in December of 2024, when the first phase of the bus network redesign is to launch these permanent signs across where the first phase of the bus network redesign will be in December. But in advance of all of that, we would share with you all what the feedback was and if there are any updates or revisions to the sign. But otherwise, we felt that it was a successful event. And we were very happy with the number of survey feedback that we received. So for now, this is the update that I can share regarding the bus stop design pilot. And our next piece, as I mentioned, is to come back and provide you with some feedback. So based on what we collected. Then and the next slide, I've got one more. And then this is just information around the Better Bus. I know many of you here have heard of the Better Bus project as well as the bus network redesign, but I just want to highlight that in addition to updates with the bus stop sign design pilot, we did update our Better Bus pages. So you have the website for the Better Bus and also the bus network redesign if there's more information around that. And we hope that as we have more activities related to the bus stop sign design pilot and other Better Bus projects, we will update you there as well. So happy to take any questions after this.
I am going to have you go to one more slide.
Mhm.
Great. So we have the question and comment period now for both Rob and Annie. And again, thank you both so much for your presentations. If you have any questions for system-wide accessibility or the Better Bus project, please use Zoom's raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. When you raise your hand, it alerts the moderator that you'd like to speak. I will then unmute the attendees to ask questions in the order that you raised your hands. To speak, click reactions, then raise hand. You can click the Alt and Y keys on your keyboard, or if you're calling in, you can click *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. And we do just have 2 questions in the chat that I'm going to start with. Adam had asked, and this is a question that I will have the RIDE visit during their presentation. I think they'll be able to better respond to it, but will the RIDE expand to be an alternative service to those who can't use the commuter rail in the areas of the stations you mentioned? And then I think this question is for you, Rob. What can residents of the greater Boston area do to help or aid this plan?
That's a great question. I would recommend a couple different options. You could always reach out to the MBTA's board of directors, whether it's by attending one of the monthly board meetings, or you could reach out, whether it's through correspondence. You can also attend those meetings virtually. You could also reach out to your local legislator to voice support. So, and I will say that the reason why you received this presentation today and the reason why this project is about to begin is actually through local advocacy from the disability community, particularly in Wellesley, and working with their town officials to, to then, to get the support that's needed and the approval really from the FTA to allow this to happen. So I definitely encourage you to do that. Whether it's supporting this particular project or all of our future projects, there's a lot more to be done. And it's going to require support from you all, from the MBTA's board, as well as MBTA leadership. So thank you for asking.
Great. Thanks, Rob. I am going to turn to the folks that are in the meeting now. Susan, It is your turn to ask a question.
Thank you. I'm just gonna ask, are for the Better Bus project, I just was, I made a comment in the chat about the signs that have the countdown on them with the timing of the next arrival. And I was thinking that Annie, one of the things that I'd like to, probably request and find out more about is are you planning on improving the signage, like the up-to-date arrival time signage for locations, especially locations that you're shifting schedules around and stuff, because those connections will be really essential in people going to work, going to friends, going to family, people making those sort of minute, especially folks in wheelchairs, like, because those signs not only show how long it is, but how full those buses are. And that's kind of an issue with, especially, with loading your wheelchair. If you want to make a decision about, whether or not to take a ride. Yeah, just the fullness, the busyness, whatever.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Susan. I will admit I do not have an answer for this, and I can share this information with other folks in our team on what our plan is for. It sounds like, is this real time or like just the countdown clocks on the bus stops that we
Those real-time ones that
Mhm.
have the time, yeah, the countdown times.
Yeah.
And they're like those signs that I think are solar powered or whatever.
E-inks. Mhm.
Hmm.
I believe they're called e-ink. So currently, I believe we do not have any plans to include those in the phase 1, but I can go back and double check and provide you with a more full and complete answer regarding the real-time signs.
I just would like to request that there be put in more strategic places because
Okay.
of bus schedule changes and
Mhm.
bus transit flow changes.
Makes sense. Okay. I will certainly get back to you on that question and that note.
Great, thanks, Susie. I'm going to turn to the chat for a question. Abby Swain has a question for you, Annie.
Mhm.
One key component of better bus service is maintaining access to stops. Where stops are located along roadways under mass highway jurisdiction, they're not cleared of debris or snow, and both can effectively prevent access. At least my municipality, Brookline, insists that the state maintain these stops. Are you working on this?
I can say that we have a team of bus stop professionals, and I know as part of the bus network redesign, we are working on ensuring that we have like snow removal at places where our phase 1 bus stops are going to be. In terms of like who is working on jurisdiction, I do not have a response for that, but I can definitely ask this and get back to you on it. I know that there are different jurisdictions that touch the bus stops, but I'd like to find out a little bit more on where this is at regarding bus stop access and get back to you.
Great, thanks, Abby. Tom, go ahead.
This is Tom, RTAG member. I like to also, I have a question that I also want to sort of piggyback on what Susan was just talking about.
Mhm.
With in my case, it's bus to train connections, and I'm wondering if the Better Bus Project could shine some light on the issues with the what happened. Oh, okay, and it's particularly where the 94 and the 96 meet at Tufts University. As of now, they're not real connections. You get off at the Tufts Garage, you have to walk to get to the train station. You get off at Tufts University on the other side going outbound. It's too close to Dearborn Street, so therefore the transit master can't call it out accurately. So my suggestion is to shine some light on moving those stops actually in front of the Green Line stop. So instead of having the bus stop at Tufts University, have it at the Green Line stop right in front of it instead. Because as of now, you can't get off there because there are pylons that gets in the way where the wheelchair ramp comes out to board and exit people. And on the Tufts Garage side, it should be moved over towards Tufts, closer to Tufts, instead make a new one at Tufts. And there's also the one at Ball Square doesn't directly connect either. On the inbound side, it sort of connects with Josephine Street, but then when on the other side, the bus stop simply isn't there. You have to like walk across the street and then go down into Ball Square. So it forces you to cross some streets to get to it. Where if you had it like right in front of the Green Line stop entrance, where you get off at Ball Square, that'd be great too. So just wondering if you could shine some lights on that. That's been a problem for a while, especially in really hot and really cold weather.
Okay. What I can do is get you in contact with our bus stop manager. I do have your contact information, Tom, and I can email you so that we can have it in writing and I can pass that along and just kind of get a better response regarding those two bus stops, it sounds like. Correct.
Because I think spacing those apart would actually make the transit master on board the bus actually call the stops out more accurately. Because as of now, when Tufts University gets called out on the outbound, it's always too late. There's no slowdown time for the drivers between when you hear the stop come up, you hit the stop request button, and then has time to slow down to get to the stop. Number two, it's always parked in by the students anyway, so it's kind of useless. So I think it'd be better to just have it right in front of the Green Line station instead as a direct multimodal connection and everything.
All right. So I will reach out to you actually here in a little bit. So you have my email. And we can go back and forth and then I can connect you with the appropriate person to have that conversation. So I owe quite a few responses here around bus stop and which we know are critical, obviously, and want to make sure I respond back to you all.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Great. I am going to turn to the chat again. Abby asked another question for either Rob or Annie. In January, the MBTA hired a new director of government affairs to oversee municipal engagement, according to a WGBH piece. I've searched Vane for a name and contact info for this individual for purposes of coordinating on replacing badly deteriorated sections of sidewalk on the MBTA D line overpasses. This isn't related to MBTA service per se, but it is related to accessibility of MBTA property. Can you help?
I'm going to ask Jennifer Ross if she can confirm who this person might be. I'm not 100% certain. I would have to confirm.
Yeah, Abby, thanks for the question. Let me follow up with you directly. I certainly have your email address and I can email you some more information tomorrow if that's okay.
Great, thanks, Jen. I am now going to turn to Debbie Weathers. Debbie,
I unmuted. Yeah,
you're good.
Can you hear me? Okay, yep. Hello. This is for Rob. I have a question. Well, it's been an ongoing question for me. We're spending all this money to extend the green line, extending the blue line. Now we're doing stuff for commuter rail. It's costing all this money to do this. And every time I ask about JFK, you tell me it's too much. I just want to know what's the difference than it's costing a lot more to expend all these stations than it is to fix JFK. That's a major station. JFK library is there, the school is there. There's holes all over the place. I can't get an answer as to how this is going to be too much to fix this when we're spending all this money extending things further out. I just want to know, somebody give me an answer as to why we're skipping that station. I mean, I brought up that station before the guy fell through, before we had the accident there. We were still doing in-person meetings, and they keep telling me it's too much money, but nobody's telling me why it's too much money when I see me spending all this extra money. Well, like extending commuter rails and stuff like that. I'm just curious because nobody won't give me an answer. I ask this every time.
Yeah, that's a very fair question, Debbie, because there's a lot of just general upgrades that that station requires, and then definitely accessibility improvements as well. I can't speak to as to why that station is where it is in terms of priority with other projects, but I can say that there was either have already begun the process or we will be beginning the process of conducting I believe an engineering study um, for a modernization of the station. But I would have to look into this further and get more details to see where things stand at this moment. I see Chris Hott
Yeah,
turned on his camera. I'm sure he has some
so,
additional information to share for you.
Debbie, you are correct. The
Yes.
station needs a lot of love, and the office of the chief engineer has begun preliminary design work, and you will see in the forthcoming CIP, there's some money allocated to preliminary design. There's also an ongoing working group with the city of Boston as well as UMass to discuss how the roads and Morrissey Boulevard, all that is going to get rebuilt because it all needs to be done basically in a sequence around our station. So it is definitely on people's radar screen. And I would say stay tuned in the next year. You'll be hearing more about it.
Great. Thank you so
Okay.
much for that, Chris.
All right.
And
Thank
great
you.
question. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you. I was just wondering because they keep telling me it's too much money and I see all this spending going on.
I hear you. Thanks,
All
Debbie,
right.
for the question.
Thank you.
Sebastian, you're next.
Hello.
Hi. I'm as living in the greater Boston area, this one's for Rob. I was just curious on how like us, the residents of the greater Boston area, could help or aid or like just help in any way with like either spreading awareness on the project or just like helping in general for the project to improve the commuter rail lines.
Yeah, Sebastian, that's a great question. You might have ducked out for a second when we got this question last time. But so yeah, there's a couple different
Hello.
things. There's a couple
Sorry,
different
Jarrett.
things.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yep. There's a couple different things you could do. First off, if you wanted to reach out and advocate to the MBTA's board of directors. So they are the a major decision-making body here at the T. And if whether it's you attending one of their monthly meetings or just through correspondence, you could attend in person or virtually. There is opportunity to submit public comments. You can do that. Or you could contact your local legislators or town officials as well to to advocate for the continued work that we do need to do to further improve access across the system.
Great. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you very much. I was also just wondering if there were any like, say like petitions or like sorts of like that nature, or if this project is already being like implemented in the next few years, right? Or
Yeah,
will
so
be.
you are right. So this project, it is a good portion of it is fully funded already for
Okay.
design and construction. But there
Mhm.
are other projects that aren't funded, that aren't not in design or early in design that do require additional funding and support. But at least with
Mhm.
regard to the freestanding mini highs, yes, that is about to begin. And come summer of next year, it is around 7 stations that will now have these platforms.
Okay, thank you very much.
You got it.
Great question, Sebastian. Thank you. Tom, go ahead.
This question's for Rob. Rob, I was wondering if there's going to be in regards to the new platforms, if there's going to be like emphasis on installing benches in on the landing areas when you go up the ramp, and also if there's going to be emphasis on installing new grade crossings like before you come to the ramp, because as of now at West Medford you just have that regular grade crossing, but it wouldn't actually be anywhere near the new platforms if they were installed at this moment. So I'm just wondering if they could emphasize installing new grade crossings like right before the mini high, so you can cross over easy and cross back and everything. Just wondering if there's emphasis on that, and also the kind of like materials they're using for the canopy, so they don't rust out like what happened with South Attleboro, because I know that withered away and everything. So
Yeah. I don't know enough about the project, Tom, to say whether grade crossings are included. If they're necessary, obviously to establish an accessible path of travel, of course, we would install those, but I would have to research that. I'm willing to wager that there will be benches on the level portion of the platform. But again, let me look into that for you and we can get back.
because
I
I think
think
it won't be a missed opportunity to kind of include good grade crossings, because I'm just picturing like the one at West Medford. Let's say if they were installed there and you still have that old crossing that's way down at the other end, it's like it doesn't make sense to me, because usually where I have to wait to get on the train at West Medford, I usually have to get on in the area where that high platform would go anyway. So it'd make more sense to have a second grade crossing right before the ramps and the platforms and everything.
Okay, yeah, I
I
can look
think
into it.
Chris might have
Um,
something to say.
As part of this project, we are not adding grade crossings. In general, from a railroad safety perspective, we would like to eliminate as many grade crossings as we can, because that is unfortunately where we have fatalities. The project as envisioned is very short and sweet, and it will recycling footsteps for putting up scaffolded ramps that are less than 4 foot of vertical difference. So it's roughly a 48-foot ramp, give or take. And there are benches, and Keolis is separately doing some PA VMS upgrades, as well as some lighting upgrades. But those are not necessarily tied to the main project.
Right, but I think you're referring, Chris, to like grade crossings, like where cars go through. I'm referring to the grade crossing, mean the grade crossing for enable pedestrians to turn around from the inbound to the outbound.
Yeah, I'm referring to
Yeah. You want some ice cream?
both pedestrian and vehicular grade crossings. Those both types are at inherent risk to riders, and the T does not seek to add additional grade crossings. In a perfect world, we would have no grade crossings and everything would be up and over or or down and under the tracks. There were no pedestrian conflicts with trains.
Oh, so what you're saying, that they're actually talking about an crossing at West Medford?
No,
Like, and
I'm saying that as part of this project, we are not adding any grade crossing.
but that
And
doesn't make sense.
the T from a safety perspective does not want to add more grade crossing.
I think for West Medford particularly, I think what I'm suggesting, that they just to take away the grade crossing that's there now, make it normal tracks, and then move the grade crossing up towards where the high platforms would be. So you're not adding another grade crossing, I guess is what I'm saying. Because
I'm just conscious of time.
oh, okay, I'm
So
sorry.
maybe we can just
so, yeah.
continue that
Thanks,
conversation.
Chris. Okay.
It's a great question. Thanks, Tom,
Thanks,
and
Rob.
thanks, Chris.
Okay.
Jarrett, I'm going to let you ask your question, and then just because of time, we'll move on to the ride portion.
That is too funny.
I have a question for you, Kat.
Go ahead.
No, I cannot register June 6th.
Okay. Thanks for letting me know.
No, how to register the June 6th meeting? How?
Oh, for Judge King. I have your phone number, so can I give you a call tomorrow and I can help you register?
Can you please send me the email instead?
Yeah, I'll email you instead. I have that
Yes,
too.
please.
Okay. Thanks for your question, Jarrett. All right. Thanks for your questions, everyone. That was great. I am now going to turn it over to Michelle Styler, the Chief of Paratransit Services, to give her updates.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if I can go on video here. All right. Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining. I'm going to update on the ride service for the month of April. This first chart displays ridership broken out by dedicated service provider, non-dedicated service provider, and track shifted trips, which we also refer to as integrated trips. Overall, ridership is down slightly from March, but April 2024 ridership is up by 24,000 from April of 2023. We go to the next slide. Two charts are displayed here. The first is on-time performance for April. It is 92%. This is an increase of 1% from March and 2% above our 90% goal. The second chart displays trips that exceed 120 minutes. We had 3 trips in the month of April. This is 3 trips out of 140,000 trips that we provide. We're committed to further reducing delays and are working with TRAC to ensure that we fully review all trips that are greater than 120 minutes and continue to focus on reducing all late trips below that threshold. You can go to the next slide. There are 2 charts displayed here regarding TRAC's performance. The first trends hold times. It starts with April of 2023 and a hold time of 10.3 minutes and displays a steady decline. In this case, the decline is good. April 2024 averaged a hold time of 20 seconds. The second chart displays call volume for the period of April 2023 through April 2024. We addressed 87,000, just under 88,000 calls in April, and it's down slightly from 91,000 in March. I'm also happy to share that TRAC's performance has remained consistent since improvements were made in the summer of 2023. Now that TRAC is fully staffed, we're focusing more on QA efforts for our agents. We can go to the next slide. TRAC's performance continues to improve. This new performance metric displayed here requires 85% of all calls to be answered within 120 seconds. This chart shows the share of calls answered within, oh, hold on a second, within 120 seconds, and we achieved 95% for the month of April. You can go to the next slide. Complaints are trended on this chart from May 2023 through April of 2024. The rate of complaints trended down from the spring of 2023. We experienced 2.32 complaints per 1,000 trips in April. Again, this is based off of 140,000 trips that we delivered in April. It is also worth noting, this is an interesting fact, that we received 55 commendations in April of 2023. And that's the highest number of commendations we have received since we began tracking commendations since late 2021. The next slide, please. You often hear me report out on our progress with staffing. We started the beginning of the fiscal year with a significant number of vacancies. We are making progress. Hires in FY24 included a deputy chief, a director of strategic initiatives and engagement, a deputy director of operations. Let's see. And we have pending 6 positions that we'll post, including a deputy director of contract compliance. Excuse me. I misspoke. These are additional positions that we filled. Deputy Director of Contract Compliance. We are close to filling Manager of Operations. We added a Technical Project Manager, a Senior Customer Liaison, and we are working toward a Manager of Issues Resolution and are hopeful that we'll fill that in the upcoming months. The next slide, please. Okay. Again, wanted to thank you and open to any questions that you may have. I believe a question was posed earlier. If you could just repeat that, Kat.
Yep, I'm just going to go over the directions again for folks, and then
Sure.
I will hop to the 2 chat questions that we had. So again, if you have a question for Michelle and her team, please use Zoom's raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. When you raise your hand, it'll alert us that you'd like to speak, and then you'll be unmuted in the order that you raised your hands. To speak, click reactions, then raise hand. You can use the keyboard and click the Alt and Y keys, or if you're calling in, you can press *9 to raise hand and *6 to unmute. So I'm first going to ask the 2 chat questions since they were first. Adam asked, will the ride expand to be an alternative to those who can't use the commuter rail in the areas of the stations that Rob had mentioned earlier?
The ride and paratransit service itself actually is provided to customers who can't use subway, bus, and trolley. It specifically excludes commuter rail. But I haven't, that is an agency decision, but the provisions of paratransit service does not include commuter rail. I can't speak to agency plans, but I can speak to the definition of paratransit service and what we do provide.
And that, can you also explain, is it true that paratransit, the geographic location of it doesn't expand? It hasn't expanded, like you have boundaries of.
Yes. So if we were to back up and thank you, Kat. Yes, we provide service within 3/4 of a mile of fixed route bus, subway, and trolley for customers. And to back up even further, that's 58 communities that we provide service to. The requirements by the FTA for paratransit service does not include commuter rail, but we do cover a significant portion of the service area.
Great, thanks, Michelle. And Cassandra is asking, I have a question regarding the Flex program and visitors from other states who are using temporary guest passes. Can there be temporary credit passes as well for either Lyft or Uber?
I don't believe we offer Ride Flex to visitors. Do I have any? Well, I know we don't offer Ride Flex to visitors, but I'm looking to see if we have somebody online that could speak to that.
Hi, Michelle, it's Chris. David stepped away for a minute, so I know, but we did discuss this, and yeah, you're correct. Flex is only, program is only offered to, ride customers proper and not visitors.
Thank you, Chris.
Great, thank you, Chris. Thank you for your question, Cassandra. I'm going to call on Elizabeth Ann.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say that when you call the ride to book trips to the reservationist, that has gotten a lot better in terms of the wait. It's no more like 20 minutes, 45, an hour waiting. So I just wanted to make a comment about that it has gotten better. And Michelle, if you can explain the last statement you made, something about accommodation, did I pronounce it right?
Oh, commendations, compliments,
Compliments?
positive
Oh,
feedback
okay, I
from
didn't understand.
customers, which is exactly what you just provided to us. And I
Oh,
can't tell
okay,
you how much
sorry.
we appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I did. It was the way it was pronounced. I didn't understand what you were talking about. But thank you guys anyways for
Thank
taking
you.
my call. You're welcome.
We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Elizabeth Ann. Debbie, you are next.
Would that be Debbie Malone?
Yes, Debbie Malone, my
Okay,
apologies.
that'd be me. So I do agree with Elizabeth Ann. I have never had to wait a long time to schedule a ride. I think it's amazing. So I thank you for that. So I agree with her. Unfortunately, I have to say something negative. I don't want to have to, but the level of problems we're having with the service dogs has come to a new level. I was actually denied a service dog on the ride. First of all, I scheduled two Fridays in a row this happened. So I scheduled a trip, and then the day of the trip, the first time it happened, I called in because my ride was not on the text. They said, oh, we can't find you a driver that will take you because you have a service animal. And I'm expecting a van because I had called for a regular ride. I didn't necessarily call for a flex. So I said, well, if you can't find a regular driver, just go try to get a flex driver. She said, well, no driver will take you because you have a service animal. I'm like, first of all, I was upset because why are you telling the drivers I have a service animal? Second of all, why are you allowing the drivers to say no? All right, those two things at once, like, really? The same exact thing happened a week later. And they even called me and asked me, would I be willing to take a flex because there weren't enough van drivers? I'm like, yeah, of course, no problem. They said, okay, we'll text you. This was like 3 hours, a little over 2 hours before my scheduled pickup. They said, we'll text you with the driver information when we get it. Never got it. I finally, like 10 minutes before my pickup time, I did the text thing to find the ETA, and they're sending me a regular ride, which was fine. I don't mind the van, but now this is 2 weeks in a row that the schedulers are telling the flex drivers that I have a service animal and allowing them to say no. Okay, those two incidents happened this month. Then yesterday, my boyfriend just got approved for the ride. So he was scheduling his doctor's appointment for today. And I usually go with him. He goes with me and I go with him. And so he told them, he asked if he was going to have somebody going with him. And somehow they got into conversation. The person has my name. Said, oh, she has a service dog. And my boyfriend said, Paul says, yeah, she does. But she's all registered. They said, well, you can't take her. She cannot go on that van with that service dog because that dog is not under your account. He's like, I don't need a service dog. Why can't she go with me with her service dog? So I was denied by the ride to go with him today because if I was to leave the dog home, I could have gone. That's a real clear service dog denial. And that's what I have to say. I'm just really upset about it. It's come to a new level. It's not just the Uber drivers. Now the ride is promoting it, basically.
Debbie, I am equally as upset. I am sorry that you had this experience. This is absolutely not what should have happened. And what we can do is perhaps work with you separately. I'd like to get dates and times, pull those phone calls, and review them and address each potential denial. These are an agent that you spoke with?
Yes.
We will
Michelle,
pull, I'm sorry.
could I just hop in for just a quick second on that first one, Debbie, that you brought up with track? I actually saw when your complaint came in, we got it over to track immediately to address with the call taker because they were incorrect. Uber and Lyft are required to take customers with service animals as our ride vehicles. We haven't been able to look into the other incidents that you brought up, but that one, a response is probably coming soon, but I do have an update on that one.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'd
And
like to
thank
work with
you.
and give you all the details and talk with you about how we're gonna fix it.
And thank you. That was Megan. She's a Deputy Director of Communications. And Megan, along with Kelly and some other team members, keep an eye on the concerns as they come in. So I appreciate that, Megan. And Debbie, as you can hear, that absolutely isn't supposed to happen. We will get that information. We'll look into it. And obviously, misinformation is being communicated to you. We'll address it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Debbie. Karen Cobb, you're next.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking my question. It was addressed somewhat in the chat. I am actually a career coach with JVS, Jewish Vocational Services. I was actually spending this morning trying to contact the mobility coordinator in order to book an eligibility in-person interview for a client I'm assisting. I tried twice today, and each time I was basically waiting over 10 minutes each time. Given that I also happen to be a deaf person, it is extremely difficult for me to remain waiting for someone to answer after going through the voice menu options. Is there another way that a person who is deaf or hard of hearing can access communicating with the mobility coordinator in order to set up an eligibility determination visit?
Yes. So I'm sorry here. Let's see. There is an option, and I don't know if this helps you at all, but to allow for a callback that you can select an option and have them call you back.
That's a little tricky because I could be in a meeting when they call back, or I could be in the middle of another work-related task. Is there a way that you can specify a certain time for callback?
If you provide your information to Kat, we can follow up offline and arrange perhaps to set an appointment up.
All right, my concern is that this may potentially lead to a global issue for other deaf or hard of hearing people who are trying to set up ineligibility. May I ask why in the general guidelines there is no TTY or general email in order for deaf and hard of hearing potential clients to set up with the mobility coordinator?
Well, this is the first I'm hearing about that, but it's certainly worth exploring. I don't believe Elizabeth is on here. She is the administrator for the Mobility Center. We can look into that and what provisions are made and follow up with you, Karen.
All right, that would be fine.
And
I believe that Jennifer has already provided her email in the chat, for which I'm grateful. I will definitely follow up with her, but again, I'd like to address that in the future so that
We
other
also,
deaf and go ahead.
Is that Kelly?
I don't mean to intrude, but we also do have, if you go through the 3200 or you put in a ticket through the regular concerns, there's a complaint concerns tab in the MBTA. You can put in that you'd like an eligibility coordinator to contact you, and you can supply an email and they will email you.
All right. Would you mind repeating that? I want to make certain that my
Sure.
absence picked it up.
So in the regular MBTA portal, there is an area where you can put in complaints, concerns, comments. If you put in an inquiry and ask for a mobility staff to reach out to you if you supply an email. We send that over and they can respond by email.
All right, absolutely. But I would like RTAG to look into whether this is a potential ADA violation because the general public, who part of which is the deaf and hard of hearing, will see the phone number and realize that they will have difficulty communicating. So that's definitely something I would like to put in the ticket and work with RTAG and the RIDE and MBTA in order to resolve it.
Karen, there's always room for improvement, and I know that Elizabeth has been investigating additional services that we can introduce, and look forward to work, first of all, reaching out to the Mobility Center to coordinate your appointment, but communicating further with you about how we can improve the service.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and I'll definitely communicate with you. Thank you.
And yes, Karen, thank you. This is Jennifer Ross here. You can definitely, I think I have your email. If not, I can get it through Kat, but I'd like to be able to connect you with the Mobility Center Direct. So I oversee the travel training portion of the Mobility Center.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer, Michelle, and Karen. Thank you so much for bringing that up, and we'll definitely continue this conversation. Tom, oh, Cassandra, do you want to say something? Cassandra's just signing something to us, folks.
Yeah,
So just give us a second.
and the ASL interpreter can go off mute and speak.
Yep.
Okay. Have you used Sorensen Communication, VRS, for interpreting help?
Is that for Karen?
Yes, it's for the deaf and hard of hearing that use sign.
I don't know if Karen is still on here, but I will make sure. No, Karen does not use ASL.
Okay, sorry.
No, thank you, Cassandra. Jennifer, did you want to say something?
Nope.
Okay.
Jennifer Smith Workman?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. Tom Gilbert, you're next.
Hi, hi, Michelle. I wanted to, I have a question and a comment. The question is how many of the vacant positions are left to be filled now? As far as sounds like you're making a lot of progress. So I was just curious of how many are left that need to be filled.
Thank you. That's a great question. And as I was tallying that up, we filled a fair amount of them.
Yep.
But due to internal promotions, we still have a good amount of vacancies. I believe we might have 8 vacancies remaining.
8 vacancies. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a big improvement from the last time, because I think the last time we met, it was like, was it 13 or
Yes,
was
yes.
it 10? So it's a lot of progress being made.
Thank you, Tom. So I was going to say that we're really pleased with how things are moving. We have added support to the operations team. We've expanded to add additional oversight with contract administrators. And something that we're all very pleased with is we have proposed a manager of issues resolution. And the idea is some of these issues that we're hearing about, that we would have somebody on board that can help somebody from the first issue as it arises through full resolution.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So I can tell my friend Mike now that things are getting a lot better. And I keep telling him that, Mike, Michelle knows what she's doing. And nobody's doing this to you purposely or anything. I'm just trying to explain to him, and so I can tell him the good news. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. It certainly, the team has been absolutely incredible. And when you think about how lean our team actually has been, the entire team will support other members and are taking a lot of additional responsibilities on. By freeing them up, we're able to tackle some of the more fun things and be more forward thinking with technology and accessibility. One of our thoughts is we are looking at building out the mobility center at a new location, relocating it to a
Oh,
larger facility, and what opportunities will be there to make the mobility center more accessible.
that sounds great. Yes, it sounds like it's a similar kind of approach that Phil Lang's taking as well. You know, empowerment of employees and how the teamwork is, how the teamwork building and everything. That sounds really good. Thanks.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't obviously shout out to the RTAG members, but I really need to commend the team for being absolutely incredible. They do all the heavy lifting and they've done so much. So I think that we have some breathing room in sight, but we're also looking at really exciting things in the future. Thank you, Tom.
Great. Thanks, Tom. William Good, you're next.
Hi, thank you. I arrived the other day. I make a point to make all my appointments in the afternoon, as being a quad takes me a while to get into my chair and go through my routine in the morning. And so I had a 1:15 appointment, and I find out that my ride pickup is at 11:12 in the morning to go from South Boston to Charlestown. And there's nothing I can do about it. I go and I get in the ride and I tell him to feel free to take his time. And we pick up one other person, we drop them off on Albany Street, and I still get to my appointment more than an hour early. And I mean, thankfully, I'm going to a building that's I can get into that's air conditioned, but I can't understand the dispatch state of mind where that was the only route where I couldn't have been picked up on the way back from the same driver or something. Because if I was going to a building where I couldn't get in, I basically would have been baking in the sun, unprotected for an hour and 15 minutes. And the dispatch team always, for as much as the road has improved, the dispatch team always feels like a Sunday crossword puzzle. So I just know if anyone could comment on that for me.
So William, I can comment, and what I can share are a couple of things. First off, I'm sorry. I know it's frustrating, and we could definitely do better. Some positives I can share with you are we track these trips and look to reduce them. We don't like to see people dropped off that early. Secondly, and I neglected to speak to this earlier, I was at the board meeting in March conveying concern about a driver shortage. From the beginning of April until now, we have increased our drivers for our dedicated service providers by 44, which is pretty significant. And we have a large number of drivers that are going through training right now. We are already starting to see improved performance. Now, to speak to inefficient scheduling, historically, and ideally, we would look at your trip, and I'd love to retrieve your trip and take a look at it. because I really can't speak to specifics. Historically, that inefficient scheduling is related to making adjustments the same day to address either no shows or driver call outs or a driver shortage. I'm speaking in generalizations here. So I'm hopeful that increasing drivers, you will see improved scheduling. Lastly, and if David Kingsbury is here, we are working through a software award that will bring additional technology and improved scheduling optimization that will help us address same-day changes. So between the driver hires, our tracking, and improved technology, you as a group, our customers should expect to continue to see improvements. And William, if it's okay with you, I'd like to separately, perhaps in the chat or through Kat, provide that information so we can take a look at the specific trip you're referring to.
Sure. And I did that day actually see a school bus full of pennied trainee drivers getting off at Spalding, which was a nice sign in the positive for an otherwise turbulent ride experience.
We're getting better, and although I'm reporting statistics to you to show you we're better, I'd also like to hear from our customers that their experiences are better too. And we're going to get there, William. We're working on it, and we're doing an awful lot. I'm hoping at the next RTAG meeting, you'll be able to report to us a good experience.
Thanks, William. Thanks, Michelle. Any other questions for Michelle and her team? Or for Rob and Annie? All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I think there might be one more slide. Oh, if not.
Hello, I had a raised hand.
Oh, I did not see a raised hand. Sorry, Debbie. Go ahead.
I don't know if that was Jennifer Ross that said she was from the complaint line and reported back to people. Somebody had came in and said that she was from the complaint line and told the lady that they could have somebody call them back.
Was this about the mobility center appointment?
Yes, from that.
That was
they do
Kelly
ask that
Ahola.
question.
Yeah.
That was who?
That was
still
Kelly, and Kelly had suggested an alternative would be to contact the customer service line and indicate that you'd like an email communication.
I understand that, and I've done that. I've called and I've asked that whoever's answering these letters, if they could contact me, other than these letters they've been sending in the mail.
Can I ask?
And I've never gotten the answer.
Who am I speaking to?
Debbie.
Debbie
Weathers.
Debbie Weathers. And what is
Yes.
it that you were asking? Were you looking for an appointment at the mobility center?
No, in general, I've asked like, okay, I've gotten letters from you, right? And they weren't exactly touching the point that I was speaking of. So I don't know whether whoever sending you these messages is giving you exactly what's going on. So when I referred to that letter that they had given me back, I asked that someone call me and not send me another letter. And that's like the third time I've done something like that, and I've never gotten a call back.
Well, that's different. We were initially speaking to somebody that was looking for a mobility
I know
center
that, and I'm
appointment.
asking you, can you do that the same way?
Customer complaints, we don't respond in person.
Why not?
Well, we lack the
Because
staff.
apparently they're not, because they keep sending me, I do everything they send me on them letters, tell me to do, and it's still not getting anywhere with it. So why keep sending me the same thing I already have the answers for? I tried everything they sent on those letters, and I'm still, not getting no real feedback as to what they sent. They send me the same letter saying the same thing.
Okay, I'm not clear on what the complaints are that you've submitted.
Yes, I've submitted at least 2 complaints about the same thing. They send me the same letter. I do exactly what they tell me to do on the letters, and I still have the same problems. I mean, the same problem with, and every time I send the report and they tell me the same thing, and I'm like, I keep doing everything you tell me. Like they say, like the guy previously, his long trips, they tell me to call the night before and see if they can change it. I have never had them change it. Never. So that's a blank there. Okay, when they tell you to call the night before, call early and see if when they do those like 2 hours and 3 hours, like he said, getting up that early and driving you all over town to try to adjust it. They tell you to call the night before and somebody get back to you. I've never had that done.
So is your
Okay.
concern, is it a similar complaint where you're being dropped off early?
Yes.
Okay.
That and the fact that I tried to use track and they told me I couldn't use track. I mean, use the lift because I have flex. And put it in so many words. They dropped me off. They picked me up early. Okay. They picked me up on time to get to my appointment. They took me 40 minutes the opposite direction for an add-on. They dropped him home. I had the procedure that day and they got me to my appointment 40 minutes late. Then they called me back and they asked me, they told me, I said, well, I'm talking to the doctor and they said they would take me, but I would have to wait. When I'm talking to the doctor, they called me back and they told me your ride's here. I said, I can't get on that ride. I said, you just dropped me off. So they told me to call them back and I did. Then they told me I had to wait an hour and a half because I was late for my pickup. I said, but you made me late for my pickup. Okay, this is kind of stuff they do. And then when I call and they send me these things telling me I can do this, I even asked them, well, then send me a flex, a flex ride, a Uber, a Lyft, I mean. And they told me, oh, I can't do that. You still got to wait an hour and a half. I said, but this was your fault, not mine. And then when I got the letter back, they told me, well, you could have used the Lyft. I said, well, I was talking to the person. They said I couldn't use the Lyft.
What
See,
I'm
this is the
thinking,
kind of
Debbie,
stuff I keep getting. So that's why I said somebody call me. Maybe they're not understanding what's going on.
I
And this
think
isn't
that
the first time this happened.
some of what I shared with William about the driver shortage and inefficient scheduling and some of our struggles to pick up and deliver people on time, you should start to see improvements as we are introducing a significant number of new drivers to the service. So the expectation would be you'd see less inefficient scheduling. Again, I'm not aware of your specific circumstances and the distance that you're traveling. So I would ask if you could just share perhaps the last couple of incidents that we could take a look at.
You tell me to do that every time I talk, and nobody's ever gotten back to me. They tell me that every time I bring up one of these things at the meeting, but we'll get back to you. And nobody's gotten back to me on one of these issues yet.
And this is
It's getting a little
regarding,
frustrating. And I'm saying that's probably why the complaints are going down because people tell me, why bother complaint? Nobody answers. So that's probably why the complaints are going down. People are getting frustrated with answering them. So I mean,
I'd still
most
like
of the
to,
ride is good, but these same issues that keep approaching, like it's okay if you lose a driver or something like that. But if you have an add-on and you're on time, the driver picks you up on time to take you to your appointment, he gets an add-on. He should take you to your appointment before he take this add-on to wherever they're going. That's all I'm saying.
and Debbie's,
I was on time until he took me 40 minutes the opposite direction.
Debbie, can I give you a call tomorrow so we can discuss this?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I will. Thanks for sharing, Debbie.
You got my number and stuff, right?
I believe I do, yes.
Okay. Please,
Thank you.
please, somebody call me. Because this is
will.
getting frustrating.
I hear you. I understand. Thanks for sharing.
Thank
Jennifer
you. Other
Smith
than that, the
Workman.
ride's pretty good. You know, it's pretty good. Other than these things keep happening.
Thanks, Debbie. Jennifer.
Hi, guys. Michelle, Cat, team. I have two questions for Rob and for the ride. Lyft, particularly. Rob, and I forget the person who's doing the signings for the stations, for the bus routes. Are they going to be putting signings at particularly Mass Ave, Boston City Hospital, bus stops? Because waiting on those bus routes, you are coming out of the doctor's office,
Asking me, Melanie, while I was talking to the lady.
hoping that, Debbie, mute yourself, hoping that you can get the bus on the right time. But if there's a sign out there where the buses are, that would definitely help. Is that in consideration for any of these bus signages? That's what I really want to know for the number 1 Harvest Square that runs by Boston Medical Center.
Jennifer, is the question as to whether the signs that we are piloting, the new signs that we're piloting will be
Come December, yes.
at the locations that you just mentioned.
The corner of Albany Street and Mass Ave.
I would have to find out.
It's where the Boston Medical Center is.
Okay.
And I mean, I understand it's where a lot of the homeless are, whatever, but they also take the bus as well.
And what are the is that a Route 1 bus or?
Yes, it's a Route 1 bus that goes to Harvard Square, from Ruggles to Harvard, from Ruggles to Nubian to Harvard. And it has a stop right there on the corner of Albany Street, and it's vice versa for Albany Street and Mass Ave. You know, it would be just nice to know that you could see how long the bus is going to be out there without feeling like, oh, is one of these homeless persons going to come and get me, or how much time do I have to stand guard? You know, I just wonder.
Yeah,
and I think it would be great.
Okay, I'll check. I mean, they're only going to be the signs that we're piloting are only going to be installed at 10 bus stops, so it's just the odds are low. Are there bus stop signs at that stop right now?
There's one bus shelter there that the benches have been taken out of, and I understand why, because of the homeless. And there's a bus stop sign for the bus going to Harvard, but the bus stop sign going to Ruggles, the bus stop going to Ruggles, it's a shelter there, but it's a sign, but it doesn't say anything about electronically like you're doing for the other stops. I'm just wondering if that could be added into that whole system.
Let me look into this, Jennifer.
That's fine. I mean, it's bad enough I gotta stand up because there are no benches there when I want to be a big girl and take the bus home. You know what I mean? It's just to know how long I have to stand would be really helpful.
Right. Do you want to ask your Lyft question too, Jennifer?
Lyft question, yes. I'd like to know, what are the ramifications on people using other person's Lyft? Flex lifts. What are the ramifications, and pretty much what are the ramifications, and are you allowed to order a Lyft using your your Flex program for someone else? I think I should have asked that first.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, Jennifer, thank you for asking, and I can answer. This is David. Answering in reverse order, no, you're not. The Lyft program is meant to replace or supplement your use of the ride. So you're supposed to be booking trips for yourself. The exception there is if there's a customer who's not able to use a smartphone, and has a PCA, let's say, who can book trips for them, that is fine. But the intention is that the use is for the ride customer. Now, to your question about sort of what the ramifications are, if it is something where we catch someone, someone booking trips for someone who's not a red customer, or committing some sort of fraud in that way, and we're able to prove that that's what's going on, then we will take away that privilege for sure.
Okay, I've seen it done at some of the entertainment spots. I'm not gonna say where I know a person is not part of the ADA community, and they are using someone else's. I'm not gonna say who, but I just want to know, yep, the ramifications.
Yeah, not saying, just saying.
Yeah, saying just so you got it. Exactly.
Thanks, Jennifer.
All right, thanks, Jen.
All right, great. Thank you. Those were my questions.
Thank you, David and Jennifer.
Great. Thank you. And Tom, you're the last one with your hand up. Make it good.
Actually, the first question is I'm sort of, again, piggybacking on what Jennifer was talking about in regards to bus stop signs. My particular issue is at Davis Square Station. What happened to my sign? It's a station busway that has like 6 different bus routes, and it's been gone for the last 2 months. It seems like they've just gotten rid of it. It's that one. It's Davis Square busway is the one that does not have berth areas. It just has all the bus routes all in one sign, and I'd like to know what's up with that. And then the second is that I'm wondering if we can bring in Kills at some point about the whole crossing grade issue. If we could talk about that further in the future.
Where exactly in Davis Square?
The Davis Square busway, when on the College Ave side, when the 90, the 89, 94, 96, 87, 88 all stop in that area there, and there's been no sign there for at least a month now. It's
So
been gone.
There are no longer berth signs for the individual berths, or
Oh no, so see, if there were berths here, that'd be great, but there were never berths here. It's just one big sign that has all the different bus numbers on one sign, but yet that's gone now. So nobody knows, whether they should be on the inbound side or the outbound side, or what routes it serves. It's just gone. It just doesn't exist.
have you filed a complaint about this previously?
Well, I should formally do it maybe tomorrow, but I thought maybe it'd be taken care of because that's a major intermodal, multimodal area. Obviously, it hasn't been taken care of, and I'm just kind of disappointed with the sign department and why they haven't been on that more vigilantly.
No, I asked because if you did submit one already, then it would probably be in the works, and we'll follow up regardless.
Yeah, because
Find out, but-
it's such an obvious area there. You're going from the red line up the escalators as soon as you come to
Yeah.
and also at Davis Square, they still do not have the bus information inside the head house. So especially during the really hot weather or the really cold weather, you don't know when your buses are coming, except for the outside. So you always have to be forced to wait outside to listen to the speakers. It doesn't work in the head house, which it should. They should have the bus information in the head house, and then the train information on the mezzanine, and then on the inbound outbound platform when you go to Porter or when you go to Alewife. That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, so if you could file, please file formal complaints about both of those issues.
Yeah.
And to clarify, the bus countdown information that was previously being announced in the station lobby is no longer being announced. Do I have that right?
The thing is it's never been announced inside the head house. It's never made.
It was only outside.
It was only outside. Like remember I complained about the Harvard one that it was giving red line information at the bus berth area, which never made sense. They did solve that. That's working fine now, but it's the one at Davis that they haven't put in the head house yet, and I don't understand why Logan Nash's team is not more out there actually riding the system and seeing what needs to be improved. Obviously they're not, because it seems like it comes down to system-wide accessibility that knows about this last. I don't understand it.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, Logan's team they're a really good team and trustworthy team, and they work their butts off. So I gotta give kudos to them. But this might be something that I don't know. They're just not aware of, but we can pass along to them. But if we have formal complaints for you, that would be appreciated as well. But
But see, I would probably know that they're working hard if they just came to more of our meetings. This is what we kind of kept in the dark about. If we knew, like, I mean, I know Michelle works hard because she explains what's going on and she's transparent and there's no suspecting of persnickety going on or anything. So it's just that Logan needs to be more communicative with us to let us know what they're doing.
Yeah, we'll talk to
We're gonna
Logan, see if
invite
we
him
can
to a
get
meeting,
him.
Tom.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
we'll talk to Logan, see if we can get him out of hiding.
We'll
And
work on it.
Yeah, thanks.
thank you,
Okay,
Tom.
I think I'm all
Great,
set.
thanks, Tom. All right, folks, those are really great questions. Our next general membership meeting will be on Thursday, July 25th from 5:30 to 7:30. So as you notice, we're skipping June because Judge King's semi-annual settlement meeting will be in June. So we won't be meeting as an RTAG group until July 25th. And we will drop the link in the chat to sign up for RTAG newsletters. Otherwise, I will follow up with a bunch of folks tomorrow. And if you need anything or have anything to share, feel free to reach out to RTAG. Otherwise, have a good weekend.
Thanks, Kat. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Enjoy a
Thanks,
long
everyone.
weekend.
Thanks
Yeah.
all.